Hello, my name is Stephen Betcher. Welcome to the Talking About Money podcast, hosted by me. And this is in conjunction with Oakford Financial Coaching. And today's guest is my wife, Nellie. So, hi, Nellie. I love you
Hi.
so much. This is definitely going to be the most beautiful guest that I ever have on the show. So we figured that this would be a good way for viewers to see how married couples can talk about money and hopefully have some healthy communication about it. I like to believe that we have healthy communication regarding finances. I'm not the sole judge of that. Your voice is just as important. So with that being said, let me just get into it. So, Nellie, did your family openly talk about finances or did they avoid the topic? And I'm more talking about your childhood and growing up.
Yeah, no. My family lived paycheck to paycheck. It was kind of a miracle that we were able to make ends meet. Um, yeah, we came from a relatively poor family.
Hmm.
Growing up, trying to manage like my first job, trying to build some kind of savings, some kind of budgeting. Whenever I talk to my family about it, they kind of seem to avoid the topic. Um, I personally believe they didn't really know themselves. And they were just, again, just doing what they needed to do to survive and kind of left it to me to try to figure that out on my own.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And I think for me, so my previous guest was my dad. So it's just funny the idea of talking about family. So for us growing up, money wasn't talked about a lot. We had an understanding that we were poor. So we saw, I guess, the clothes we wore or the foods we ate compared to everyone else. The things that we got to do versus what other people got to do. So we did have somewhat of an understanding we didn't have as much money, but we still had a very happy and full life, which is kind of what I described in that previous episode, where we felt loved, we felt comfortable. We even though we didn't have a lot, we weren't wanting. We were pretty satisfied and content. Would you say that was similar for you growing up?
I'm sorry.
So, would you say that you were maybe aware you didn't have much money, but you were still able to enjoy your childhood and feel
Yeah,
close to your
absolutely.
family?
I
Yeah.
mean, I was still close with my family. The little luxuries that we did have was mainly going to the parks,
Mhm.
having a little picnic out there or walking around the neighborhood. That didn't require any money, and I had a great memory of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's great to find ways to bond with your family that don't always involve money. Obviously, it's great if you can take all the family on a super nice vacation or all the family out to a Phillies game or a Flyers game or something
Mhm.
like that. But you can have just as much fun going to a park, which is free,
Yeah,
and
I
playing
mean,
on the swings, which is free.
my family has taken me out on vacations and stuff. Sometimes I felt as if they sacrifice certain things
Hmm.
to be able to take us to those vacations. I'm really grateful for it. That's I feel like that's part of being a parent.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, what is something about money that you wish you learned earlier in life?
Well, this is what I learned with you recently that I wish I learned back then. It was
Hmm.
treating, your savings as like a fixed bill, such as like rent, and
Hmm.
any utilities. It just removes the temptation to want to spend it.
Yeah, like when you set aside the money that you have to spend,
Hmm.
you know that that money is going to be there to spend it. It's not if we're going to use easy numbers. This isn't real numbers. If rent is $1,000 and you set aside $1,000 a month that is going to be spent on rent, you you don't get tempted to spend $1,000 elsewhere. So you kind of set that money aside. That's
Hmm.
kind of something you wish you learned earlier, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I wish I understood investing a little bit more when I was earlier. I think I overthought it a lot. And I kind of have this idea of that's complicated. That's for the grown adults with a lot of money. And investing was never something that I thought about. And now understanding what compound interest is and what my portfolio may look like if I had started sooner, I it definitely kind of weighs on me a little bit. Like, man, I really wish that I knew, and I wish I knew that I could do it because I thought you had to have technical expertise, which obviously I didn't have as a kid. Um, but you don't always need to have technical expertise if you dollar cost average and other things that you learn as you watch the show. Um, in regards to our journey together, so
Mhm.
moving past our childhoods and upbringings and when we were together, what were some financial challenges that we faced together early on in our relationship?
Well,
And
from
let's talk about dating, not marriage, because I view
yeah.
it as two separate statuses. So when we were started dating, not when we were first married.
I mean, it's so the beginning of our relationship, I've kind of like I still didn't really grasp the concept of like budgeting. I did a lot of like irresponsible spending. I spent a lot of money on coffee every morning for right before work. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a lot, and that those it just accumulates all the amount of coffees I've bought,
yeah.
and yeah, it's just
Yeah, so I mean, for you, I think you would categorize it as like impulsive spending.
yes, impulsive. Sometimes when I was down, I was purchasing a lot of things that
Yeah,
had like called it just temporary happiness.
yeah. I mean, and it's tough because sometimes it is nice to have something nice to get you through the day, especially if you're having a hard day.
Hmm.
But if every day is a hard day, it does add up over time. So I'm not always going to condemn people. Like if you buy a $7 coffee once in a while, that's fine. It's when you buy two $7 coffees every single day.
Well, you end up creating a habit for yourself, and that
Right.
too could be like two in the morning. Now I need one in the afternoon, and whenever you're feeling down, and you associate it with
Yeah, with
spending.
something that spends. So the behavior is like I'm sad, therefore I need to spend to feel better.
Hmm.
Um, that's something I guess you struggled on, and I guess you struggle with that with me because I mean, heavy quote unquote here, Mister Responsible quote unquote. I've made a series of irresponsible decisions, but I think from your perception, I came across as responsible.
Yeah, and that partially like, made me feel a bit guilty with my spending,
Right.
so it caused me to want to hide my finances for a bit.
Yeah, which I mean that's stuff that we've
Yeah,
had to
yeah,
talk through and work through and
yeah.
find ways to help.
It caused some conflicts, but
Yeah, and I think for my part, I definitely was probably too controlling or too I wouldn't say so much controlling because it's always your money and I was always like, yeah, it's I can't tell you what you can and cannot buy. But I definitely could see myself being like impatient or giving you like a look like, hey, you just ordered Chipotle yesterday. You're sure you want Kava today? Like, and I think I mean, because we're talking about dating right now, I think some of my behaviors when I was kind of giving you like a bit of a side eye when I saw you spend money was inappropriate for a dating couple. I think the more intimate you get as a couple, you learn how to navigate that and okay, what are we going to prioritize? How are we going to spend our money?
yeah.
What's important to us? And try to have some alignment moving forward. But when we were like a few months into dating, and I was like, man, like she kind of spends a lot more than what I'm used to.
Well, back then it was more like I was in the mindset of it's my money and it's my money
Well,
and your money was your money.
yeah, and that's correct. That's my point, is that was correct. And I think for me, what I had to work on in myself was just that. Just being like, hey, like I obviously like her very much and I see a future here and we're loving we're living that future now and we love it. But it was probably inappropriate for me to,
Yeah.
early on just kind of like care so much. So, how has budgeting changed our stress levels and our relationship?
I think now that we have like transparency, it's
Yeah,
minimizes conflict, and the concept of my money and your money is not there anymore. It's more of our goals.
Our money,
Yeah,
especially
our
in marriage, that's where we drifted towards. We view marriage as a lifelong commitment that you don't back out of, and we view it as kind of like this more, proverbial like two become one, and so our money also represents that. Like, I don't, we get paid the same day, but I don't view it necessarily as this is my paycheck and what I'm bringing in. This is your paycheck, what you're bringing in. I view it as this is what we collectively have brought in together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good to not count. Not a pocket watch, I guess, as the kids say. Um, yes, I mean, I agree with you. And I think budgeting, for me, it helped with stress levels because it felt like, okay, we could get things under control. Now that we know we're spending X amount on eating out or X amount on groceries, it gives us an expectation for, okay, so what does dating look like? Like, even when you're married, you still want to date your partner. You still want to go out and eat and experience things and get to know your partner. So now that we have an established, like, basically a dating budget, that helps us make our decisions day to day.
Yeah.
I know, like, okay, me and Nelly try to go on one or two date nights a month. So that determines what I eat for lunch. Do I pack my lunch more? Or if I do eat out, am I just getting something quick and cheap? It helps with the planning. I think one thing that's important for me. So we have a budget, and on the budget, there's a tracker. And what I do is I like to track how much I've spent. So each purchase, I literally go in and log it. So if I go and I spend $30 on groceries, I go in and I enter $30 and then it deducts it. Which, again, if you meet me or get to know me or do a coaching session with me, I'll show you how these budget systems work that I've developed. Um, for you, you hated the tracker.
Yeah, it's just trying to remember to go in there and plug every single.
You absolutely hated it. It was stressful to you, and then it would stink for me too, because I'd be like, "Hey, like, I did you log this? Did you log that?" I was asking a lot. So what we decided to do, what worked for us, is we factor into our budget like Nellie's money that doesn't have to be logged. So we give her X amount every single month, and she doesn't have to log it, so she can spend that money on whatever she wants.
It's like my fixed budget of
it's it's your treat budget.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy coffee or if you want to go out for lunch somewhere, whatever it is, you can do it, and I don't have to be privy to it. You don't have to log it or track it because we've already accounted for it.
Yeah.
And when you run out, then you're
that's
it. Yeah, then it refills the next month.
Yeah,
well, it's up to you.
Like a budget within a budget
Yes.
for me, so
Yeah.
I have to
Yes.
budget that amount.
Budgetception there. So how important, and we're going to talk about marriage now versus dating. How important is transparency in a relationship when it comes to finances?
I think it's extremely important. It builds trust. It prevents resentment. Financial infidelity, like hiding your finances, that which causes a lot of conflict. Yeah, I think it's extremely important. It's,
Yeah, I think for us, that's part of why it's so good that we keep all our finances together. And part of the reason why we decided to combine is it's a lot harder to spend money when we're both looking at the same bank account. So if I went out and spent $600 on two really nice Flyers tickets for me and a buddy, I couldn't hide that from you. You would be like, Steven, what is this deduction? So I think that's definitely true. And then you don't want to have surprises, which we have had, and you work through it and you deal with it. So it's not, doesn't have to be a deal breaker. Sometimes that's a test and how you do conflict. I mean, every marriage is going to have conflicts. So for us, it definitely tested us, but we did have a couple instances where, I think some of your credit card bills were a lot higher than what I was expecting. And I was hit with like, whoa, like, I didn't know this was where you were at. So I'm glad that I think we've worked it out. I don't think there's any taking time bombs. And
Mhm.
like you kind of said earlier, you kind of, if you're keeping a secret from your partner, you're almost living in like shame, like day to day, like I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed. And it just gets worse and worse. So if you're transparent, you can avoid that. So we always, talk about transparency. Um, this is kind of on the same line. Do you think couples, particularly married couples, should combine finances, or should they keep it separate, or should they do a partial workout?
Um, Me personally, I do think it would be better to just combine it because you have that full transparency. But I mean, no one. I mean, it really depends on the situation.
Yeah,
I know some people have a lot of debt that the other partner, may not want to inherit that. Um, yeah, it really depends on what you guys communicate with and
yeah,
what works for you guys.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think for marriage in particular, so I would say if you're dating, like up until you're married, keep it separate. But I would be more old school. I'd view when you're married, it's now our money. It's not you have this and I have this. Even from a debt perspective, I guess I totally understand how that can be messy on either side because pretend if you had $50,000 of debt, which she does not, but if she entered marriage with $50,000 of debt and I'm paying it, or we're paying it, she could feel almost like a debtor's mentality towards me, which would be toxic, or I could feel like toxic towards you, like don't you see what I'm doing for you, or I'm doing all this for you, or I could resent her for that. So you definitely need to have that transparency that we were talking about earlier going into a marriage.
Mhm.
But I personally, I do believe like in a healthy relationship, you'll have your finances combined, you'll be on the same page, and like that debt becomes our debt because I'm accepting you, I'm marrying you, I'm combining my life with you, and my blessings are your blessings are my blessings. And the same goes for our baggage. My baggage is your baggage, and your baggage is my baggage, and that's part of just that combining lives. So I'd say, so yeah, I love you really much. I'm really happy that I'm married to you. Um, so that's my take. Now, again, there may be couples that don't do this. Maybe they have a system that works for them. And if both people are happy and if the system is successful, that's great. So I'm not condemning systems that may be different for other couples. Maybe it really does work better for them. So I just want to go out there and say it. Like, if you do keep it separate with your spouse, you're not automatically doing something wrong where I'm going to like come at you and say, oh,
Yeah, I
how dare
mean,
you?
back back then, I've heard of people having two separate accounts and then one joint account, and every like they do like the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah, they work
You
budgets
know,
into it, what they contribute into the joint account versus what they keep in their private account.
exactly.
So there can be systems that work like that, but in general, what I believe is a healthy way to view money in marriage is that this is our collective money. It's not if I make more than you, it doesn't matter. You have access to me, all of me, the good and the bad.
Mhm.
And then the same is true for you. So, how do we balance enjoying life while still saving?
Um, I mean, we don't need to cut out every non-essential expense.
Mm-hmm.
We do put a little bit of money aside for date nights.
Mm-hmm.
And when we feel like we've ran out of that budget and we still want to do something, going to the parks, walking around,
Mm-hmm.
just enjoying each other's company. Sometimes we just stay home,
Yeah,
watch TV or
yeah,
do like a fun activity at home.
yeah, yeah. I agree. We have our savings goals as our like primary focus. So the
Hmm.
money goes directly out of our paycheck and into our savings.
Hmm.
So I'm putting money away. I mean, I'm just using, for anyone wondering, I'm using money market funds, which yield about 4%. It's basically the same type of deal as a high yield savings account. So every paycheck, the full amount of the paycheck hits our account, and then I withdraw a certain amount and deposit it, almost like into the abyss, like into that future savings. And actually, one thing that we're trying to do, I mean, the question was, how do we balance enjoying life while still saving? Some of the things we're saving up for are directly related to enjoying life. So we're saving up for a trip to Japan in a few years, so part of our money out of every paycheck is going towards that trip. And then we are doing things that we still enjoy just within reason, so we will have a spontaneous date night, where both of us are free, we both have energy, we were, I mean, just the other night, we were out at a prior event, and then we were like, hey, we're both out, we're both hungry.
That's true.
And then we went out and we ate, and then we ended up spending too much money on a meal that we didn't like. So
Yeah,
we kind of took the L on that one.
Yeah. It happens from time to time.
We had a great time with each other, but we walked away being like, we're not going back to that place. But for our anniversary, we had a wonderful anniversary, and I believe so. We ate at a place called Barclay Prime near In-House Square in Philadelphia, and I think it's the best steak I've had, period, in my life.
It was a really nice restaurant.
So I agree. You don't have to cut out every single non-essential expense. I mean, people talk about the FIRE method, which is basically eat nothing but ramen, and live as simply as you can.
And I have done that.
Try to retire early. But the point is, some people can live a lot larger, but they want to retire early, so they put all their money towards that goal. I think if you're in a marriage and you have another person to consider, and that person is not necessarily aligned with that goal, because I don't think you would enjoy that very much, and I don't think it would be healthy for our relationship if both me and you were like, yeah, every single night for the next 15 years we're eating ramen noodles where we get however many for $1.
Yeah, no.
That would be too much.
Well, that's why I stopped. It got exhausting after a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there is a balance there. You just find what's important to you while still being able to hit your savings goals. What is one thing that people waste money on without realizing it?
Ghost subscriptions.
Ghost subscriptions. Okay, what is that?
So it's just forgotten monthly fees. Just subscriptions you paid for. I know I had paid for a gym membership for like 6 months and not realized because either I wasn't looking at my bank statements or it was just like, charging me just something that I don't usually use and just completely forgotten about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's also like kind of like those sweet treats that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like those $7 coffees add up. For me, I'm not a coffee drinker, but like I do like little snacks. Like I like, oh, I just finished shopping at Target and got some clothes. You know what? I'm kind of hungry. Let me just like get a bag of potato chips on my way out. And I think I'll get a soda to wash that down. And next thing you know, like I've spent like $6 that I did not need to for no reason. And again, it's not that if you do it once, it's terrible. But if you do that almost every time you go out to buy something, if you add $6 or $7 in those little unnecessary treat yourself purchases every single day or every single time you go out shopping, it does start to add up. So I think just practicing that small little discipline where like, hey, like for me, I don't need to buy potato chips and Gatorade and like maybe a candy bar because I go and have a sweet tooth after all of it. I mean, honestly, even for health reasons, I shouldn't be doing that. And talk about physical health too. I think that's a way people can waste money. So what are some of the long-term goals that we're working toward? We mentioned the Japan trip. Do you have any other?
We want to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we do.
And Steven had created like a timeline of like how old we're gonna be when we travel to certain places.
Oh yeah, I have like 25 places that I want to travel. We love travel. Travel for us is like a must. It's a necessity. It's what we love doing. So that's like, where we put our money towards.
35, we're going to Italy. 40, we're going to
yeah, wherever.
Wherever.
Yeah. Australia, like I want to, or New Zealand. I want to see where they filmed Lord of the Rings, and
Mm.
I have this thing where I want to go to every single continent. So I do have an Antarctica cruise on my bucket list. That will be interesting. I don't know how much you'll like that.
I like the experience.
Yeah, that's kind of maybe we'll cross it when we get there. But I think for us, the long-term goals are a lifestyle where you can travel consistently. I think for us, we travel really well together. We have a lot of fun, and then just meeting new people, experiencing new cultures, learning other history for us is a value.
Hmm.
So what does success look like for our family in 10 years?
Well, I would eventually want to be like homeowners.
Yeah, we're renting right now.
And again, like we mentioned, like the traveling, going out, you know, putting finances away for future children,
Yeah.
just living comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We would like to be homeowners. It's kind of a tough economy right now. We were almost homeowners, and then the deal fell apart. That's a story for another day. Um, the teaser of the story is that the man was unwell and threatened to kill us because we didn't want to pay him $17,000 extra in cash 2 days before closing.
Yeah.
We said, "Hey, we're not giving you 17 grand out of our pocket," and he threatened to kill us. So the deal fell apart. That's the story in a nutshell. Anyway, moving on. That was that was an adventure. That was a
Yeah, that was
memory
quite
that
the
we'll talk
experience.
about for a long time.
Um,
It'll be great. Whenever we finally buy a house, we'll be like, "Hey, remember how we almost bought that other house?" And then
we actually tried to buy two houses, and then the
that's
first
true.
one fell apart. Yeah, the plan fell through. She
Yeah.
backed out.
Yeah, I mean, she backed out, and I mean, she didn't threaten to kill us or anything. She was within her rights on that one. So she just changed her mind about selling. She loved that house. I lived there for 40 years.
Yeah, and it's understandable.
It was fine. It was reasonable. There was no worries. So we get where she's coming from.
Hmm.
No problem. Um, what is one purchase that you'll never regret?
It was definitely our all-inclusive like honeymoon
Yeah,
to St. Lucia.
yeah, we went to St. Lucia for a honeymoon. That was awesome. That's my answer too.
Yeah.
And so for our wedding, what we were able to do, I mean, we live in a world where weddings commonly go up to like upwards of like between 25 and $30,000 just for the wedding. Um, if that's where you're at or what you want, that's fine. We do not have any problem with that, and people value different things. For us, we did not really value that. We didn't feel like we needed to spend, 5,000 on a special photographer. We were like, all right, we can spend 900 on an entry level photographer. We didn't feel the need to, have 300 people over. We had just our closest, we had about 100 people.
Family and friends.
Yeah, we didn't feel the need to host it at a fancy venue. We hosted at my dad's church, which is a beautiful and great venue, but it's free for members, so we were able to do that for free. And all in all, our wedding was very, very cheap and affordable, and we used the money that we saved to give ourselves the trip of a lifetime to St. Lucia. Highly recommend St. Lucia. It was just amazing, and I've never done all inclusive before in my life, so that was an experience
Definitely
for me.
try to do all-inclusive at least once in
Yeah,
life.
at least once. It was unbelievable. I'm like, wait, what do you mean I don't have to like pay for this? Like I can just order as much as I want. And the upbringing that we had, we always try to get our money's worth. So it was bacon on bacon on bacon on
Size of
bacon.
bacon
Yeah, like
for
everything.
everything.
Yeah, just the drinks, like everything. It was great. So we loved that. And then we did excursions too.
Yeah,
We spent extra money to do the excursions. So we did like a rainforest zip line thing. We did scuba diving
scuba
or
diving.
snorkeling. Sorry, not
Snorkeling. Yes.
snorkeling. And we did a catamaran cruise kind of around the islands and saw some mountains, and that was great. All right. So the last question: what is one financial opinion that you have that people might disagree with?
Me personally, I don't think buy now, pay later is essentially bad as long as you're paying it on time and you're not making a habit out of it. Because if you make a habit out of it, you're going to think every purchase you made is like,
Yeah, it's a lot
smaller.
cheaper than it
Yeah.
is. It's easy to lose track. So, buy now, pay later, for anyone who doesn't know, it's essentially a way to finance purchases that you can't necessarily afford. So the classic, I mean, it's kind of been like our cultural zeitgeist is people are financing burritos. If you're in a position where you need to do that, please just don't do it. Do not finance a burrito. But the idea is this: if a burrito costs $12 and you don't want to spend $12 on a burrito, you can break up your payment into $1 a month for 12 months. You still spent $12, but you to actually get it and to consume it, you only spent $1.
Mhm.
What that does psychologically is it tricks your brain into thinking that the burrito only costs $1. And then after you've consumed it, you've forgotten all about it, but you're still paying for it after the fact. So, for example, usually these buy now pay laters are used for bigger purchases than that. And I actually agree with you. It's not always bad. It is not. It is not always terrible, especially because they are usually zero interest.
Mhm.
So I, I'm going to use easy numbers here. A few years ago, I did this for a trip to Belize. So it cost $3,000, and I just didn't feel like parting with that much money on my bank account all at once in case there's going to be some emergency or I need to pull up money together. And I did not have month to month cash flow issues. My month to month was pretty strong. So I said, all right, rather than spending $3,000 all at once, and again, I'm not using exact amounts, I'm just using easy numbers. Rather than spending 3,000 all at once, I did $300 for 10 months. And that was fine. It worked out great for me. My monthly cash flow could absorb that, so I didn't have an issue. I was able to keep that money on hand, which actually it did come in handy because 2 months later I needed to buy a new laptop. My old laptop had destroyed, so I spent a bunch of money on a laptop. So there are situations where it can be fine,
Well, I mean,
but
I
you
know.
need to have that discipline because that Belize trip didn't cost 3,000, or it did not cost 300. It cost 3,000. 3 months later, had already been through the trip and I'm still paying for it, still paying for it, still paying
Mhm.
for it. So you got to use it in moderation, and you got to use it wisely. Financial opinion I have that people might disagree with. Um, I believe home ownership is not essential for some of the retirement type stuff or wealth building type stuff. It used to be back in the day that home ownership was how you built wealth because you're locking yourself in to a monthly rate. Usually, I mean, I know there's adjustable rate mortgages, people refinance, but the idea is you're locking yourself in to the same monthly payment for 30 years, so the prices of everything else goes up, but you're locked in, and your payment is basically an investment because you're building equity. So when you're paying rent, you're just paying someone else and you're basically lighting that money on fire. Whereas when you're paying a mortgage, you're building equity and it's an investment. And then you sell it usually 30 years later and it had appreciated, right? So if you bought a house for 500,000 and then it went up to 1 million, you sold it for 1 million, you just keep that all that money.
Mhm.
Well, our retirement vehicles have gotten a lot more sophisticated and better that people usually don't need to rely on a home sale 30 years from now to support their retirement. It's more of like a nice to have in retirement than a necessary because 401ks and compound interest have become a lot more effective. Um, and even with home ownership, like you have to pay a lot more money up front to come up with a down payment, which if you rent, you don't have to pay all that money and you can actually keep that money invested, and the money that you invest can actually yield a higher return. Uh, Sometimes, or not even always yield a higher return, but you're still making money. And then also on top of that, you don't have to deal with repairs if you're renting. So if you bought a house and then in a few years you have to spend $20,000 on a roof or $7,000 fixing a sewer pipeline, you know, that's money that's just out of your pocket that you have to spend and you have no choice. Whether you can afford it or not, it doesn't matter. That hole in the roof is still there.
Mhm.
So for that reason, I think home ownership, I mean, it's great. We obviously love it, but I think it's more of like that emotional component of like, this is stability for our family, for family planning.
Yeah.
and we can decorate it however we want. We have our roots down. Our kids will be okay. Like we can easier invest in the community because we know we'll be there for long term. So there's plenty of reasons why homeownership is great. It's just, in my opinion, and people may disagree with it, it's more of a nice to have in regards to the financial end of it rather than a necessity. So that is my last question. Thank you so much for being on here. Like I said, you're the most beautiful person that will ever be on the show. I love you very, very much. Um, yeah, thank you for being on here. Thank you for watching, for anyone who made it all the way through. My name is Steven, once again, and I am the founder of Oakford Financial Coaching. It's not hard to find my link. It'll either be in the description or however you're watching this. I'm sure that it's only a click or two away to get to my website where I do one-on-one coaching. So I can help you with your budget. I can help you with your debt management, with your monthly cash flow, or if you just have questions about financial literacy, if there's components in the financial world that you don't understand, I'm your guy. I can help you with that. I also offer educational workshops in a more of a classroom setting if you're here with an organization or interested in that for your organization. So thank you for tuning in. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and have a good day.
Bye.